Thanks for making the time to speak to me today. I know you're busy on tour and stuff. I really appreciate it.
That's not a problem, my friend.
It's all good, man. It's all well, so. How's it been going? Obviously, everybody's winding down for the end of the year, and you guys are on tour with Health, and it's been a pretty prolific year for you guys, man. Like, how are you feeling?
Pretty exhausted.
Yeah.
Not to sound too negative, but definitely certainly ready for it to end. My fucking brain and my body need a break big time.
Yeah, I understand that, man. Absolutely. Have you got any good plans for Christmas? What have you got planned?
I come from a very small family. My mother and my sister and I. So that's what I'll do. So I have dinner and open some gifts with my mom and my sister.
That sounds lovely, man. That sounds like a good break for sure. And yeah, like I say, it's been a pretty hectic year. You've made quite a dent on a lot of people. Daughters music seems to be, obviously you've been going for a long time, and you've experienced quite a level of success. And I wanted to ask you personally, because obviously you can't speak for the whole band, but how do you define success as an artist? Like, what does success mean to you?
There's all these little pockets and like ways to look at it. We're not commercially successful, and I think for your average person, like my Uber drivers, for instance, they pick me up at the airport and I have a couple guitars and some pedals and stuff. Inevitably, they'll ask me, "Are you in a band?" Like, yeah. And they're like, "What's it called?" And I tell them, and they're like, "Where did you just come from?" And I'm like, "Well, I was just in Russia." And they're like, "Really? Is your band popular?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it does pretty okay." And then they'll listen to it, or they'll see like our Instagram or something. They'll be like, "Oh, okay," and it's like, it's been a popular band, So for your average person, we don't have commercial success, and that's weird for them. But I find successes in things like, I spoke to a handful of people after our show in New Orleans, and someone found our music when they were in prison, and this person told me that our music helped them focus and do the right thing and get through a part of their stint there. And he got out, came to the show, was happy as hell, and told me all about it. It was a really beautiful thing, and I thought that was a measure of success for sure.
Yeah.
And I also find little bits of success in being able to meet and perform with pretty much everyone we have been able to since this record has come out. I mean, many of these folks are people that inspired the record or that I was hoping we could play with and assumed perhaps that we would not be able to. Sometimes folks don't really want to cross genre lines, but I find the peer acceptance, maybe not even acceptance, but just support to be a myth for success.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think
those things are important. There are other things too that you can argue are success, but for me, those are among the most important ones.
One of the coolest stories I have with Daughters, when I'd kind of been listening to you for a little bit, and I work in a youth centre with for young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, and one of them asked me, they were going through some stuff at home, some trouble at home, and one of them asked me what bands I was into, and I mentioned you guys, and they were like, "Oh fuck, I was listening to The Reason They Hate Me the other day and Sitting in Wait." They were listening to the record. And fucking that was insane. It's like it makes me want to pick up an instrument and be in a band, because they wanted to be in a punk band and stuff, and they wanted that kind of sort of a band to kind of inspire them, and they were like got really excited. They were like, they'd watched your K-Pit show, and they were like, "Fuck, I want to be in a band like that." And I was like, this kid must be like 18 years old in this tiny little city in the UK, and they were like, "Fuck yeah, I've discovered this band." And I was just like, that to me, like when you don't know how much your music is impacting people, and that person had said to me, "I've got all these problems with my dad, I've got all these problems with my family, but I listen to that music to get me through those times." And that's like, to me, that's
people you still see.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So they come into this space, the community centre I work in, the youth centre. They come in for an escape from. So they've got some mental health issues. They've got drug addiction, things like that. Maybe they've been abused, and it's like a centre for people to kind of come and chill out, like escapism and stuff, like a centre to escape. And it's really cool to hear stories like that, because the staff talk with the young people about music and the arts, and like it was really cool to hear a young person be like, "Fuck, this is amazing." So I think that's an amazing thing.
I don't mind sharing with you. If it ever becomes appropriate and you're hanging out with some of these folks again at the center you're working at, first of all, let them know I said hello.
Absolutely.
But also, you can let them know if it's ever appropriate that I come from a very, very similar background to all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I often have to credit the fact that my father forced a guitar on me
for
getting me out of it. Because it wasn't long before I found my own band that made me feel that way, and then I just kind of did that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, here I am over 20 years later, and it's, I've been doing it all my life. I've seen the people I grew up with weren't quite as lucky,
Yeah, no, absolutely, man.
But you let them know. Come from the same background, tell them I said hello.
I will do, man. That's amazing. And I wanted to ask you, as an extension, again, what does the music, because what you do live and on record, you can feel the kind of aggression and the sort of catharsis that I think it's very cathartic music for people to listen to, and obviously for you guys as artists. I wanted to ask you, what does Daughters bring to you as an artist and creative? Do you find it cathartic? What do you get from the music that you make with Daughters?
That's so complex. That's my question, especially after the year I've just had.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, man. The music itself, directly to me. I mean, I was just telling another person that I was speaking to that I don't consider myself much of a performer. I haven't really warmed up to that part of this ever. Whereas our singer Lex, he's just getting better and better all the time. He's becoming very, very good in my mind as a performer. And for me, though, I have to fold myself up into these little pockets. I have to be in the moment. If you pay attention, there's very little interaction with the audience and stuff, and that's a consequence of not really seeing myself as much of a performer. And so that's where the little that's at least my own little personal catharsis stuff comes from, is just folding myself up into these little zones by myself. And it's if you come to a show and you see me having a bad show, it's because I can't get in that zone, or I've been taken out of it and I can't get back. And the reason I bring this up is because my bread and butter is creating the tunes.
Yes.
I like to be at home experimenting and putting together the songs and seeing how the drums fit with this, that, and the other thing. And, everything you hear on the record that isn't Lex is something that I've designed. And, putting together the album art, having talks with labels about getting it out there, planning merch and videos and things like that. I mean, I generally, in short, I just like the creative aspect of doing this stuff. I find that to be very satisfying and super cathartic to me. The act of sharing it as well. Being, like you said earlier, and not really having any idea of what the music's impact is a part of that. It's really fun for me to share, but I guess that's mostly what I get out of it. Musically, that's such an in-depth conversation, especially considering that the way this record turned out and the way the album turned out. I think I've slowly picked up on, over the span of several months, how all kinds of subconscious things ended up in the album that were not intentional, and through the act of touring and playing this music over and over again, and hearing the songs and hearing people's commentary, it's actually taught me something about myself in 2019 and who I was as a person during the years creating the record that I was not entirely aware of.
That's a really interesting thing. Can you go into that a bit more? Because I think that it's really interesting when an artist can say the music has changed me and I've developed with the music. You know what I mean? Because you're never the person when you start making a record. If the music changes you, that's pretty significant. You know what I mean? So could you talk to me a little bit about how you've developed as a person through making this record, and I guess through being in the band, because touring changes you, traveling changes you, everything about it, really.
We've been touring this album now for a little over a year. We started early November last year, pretty soon after the album came out. I concur the touring, I feel, has changed me, but in order to be here, I had to change my private life quite dramatically. So,
right,
and that was a certain way of living that I had been embroiled in for several years, which is totally out the window. So, essentially, as soon as the record came out, just about every single aspect of my life completely changed. I mean, my living situation, personal relationships, my jobs, literally everything. I have Lyme disease, so like my ability to minimize how that affects me has almost been thrown out the window. It's hard to stability when you're touring, and very difficult to keep any sort of routines going, which is, if anybody who is reading this or hearing this has Lyme disease, they know that like sometimes one of the very few weapons you have against it is just routine, especially with respect to things like sleep.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know how to say this in depth, and I also don't want to sound too negative. I think what I need is more time to answer the question, because right now I just kind of feel tired.
Yeah, no, fair enough, man.
I feel way older now than I did a year
ago. Yeah, man.
and it's a good thing. It's like one of those things when like you go running or something on a treadmill or jogging, and you feel horrible afterwards. Like you feel worn down and you can't breathe, but it's like a good kind. Like kind of exhausted. I feel like I need more time to talk about how very specifically the album has changed me. I just can tell very much that it has.
Yeah. I think because I mean I could talk about it for ages, because like I've just toured Asia with my band, and I've got cerebral palsy, so I walk with the aid of 2 sticks, and like it's just the most tiring thing. It's the most tiring fucking thing, traveling around and playing like not as many shows as you guys. Like we're like a fucking grindcore 2-piece, so it's like super niche and super miserable super miserable and horrible, and super niche. But yeah, I get it. I get what you mean. I wanted to.
I'm sure you do, man. Congratulations on making it through that, because
it
is a trek, man, and
but it's like
congratulations.
Oh man, same to you guys. I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. I want to, because obviously I know you're tired. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I wanted to ask you because one thing I love about Daughters is your visual. You've got the videos down. You've got all the artwork's amazing. All of that visual creative stuff that you were talking about is fucking on point, man. It's so cool to see. And I wanted to ask you, what inspires you outside of music? I'm talking about movies, I'm talking about places that you go. Maybe it's maybe it's your family, but what is it that drives that creative thing outside of music? So not necessarily, it being in the band, but like visual stuff. Maybe it's music. Sorry, not music. Maybe it's art. What is it? What is it outside of music that inspires you, that gives you that creative buzz?
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff outside of music. I mean, I think about this a lot lately, because now I'm as I said, the album has me reevaluating all kinds of things in my life, and I think it's become pretty evident that, like, for instance, I'll go out on tour for like 60 days, and I will have considered them to be a very difficult 60 days that I would not want to relive.
Yes, yeah.
While I'm living those 60 days, I'm like, I'm never writing another song again.
Yeah.
The second I come home, I immediately start writing tunes, like start putting together riffs and whatever else. And I think one of the drives is not known to me. It's now just ingrained, and like I've had that all my life, but I think at this point, I'm 37. I've been writing songs and releasing things with small labels and whatever for over 20 years, and it's like that shit is ingrained. But outside of that, though, I've had a lifelong interest in film. I was a classic, like working in an obscure video store for years to work.
Nice.
And I went to school for that for a little while, and then so there's just a ton of movies in there for me. Lex and I are both avid readers of all kinds. I mean, Lex has a poetry book out now, and he reads all kinds of stuff. This year I've seen him read quite a bit of poetry, and pretty similar. I really love a writer named Dodie Bellamy.
Cool.
And I love filmmakers like Bellatar and Philippe Grandrieu, pretty like dark and dry and bleak type films. But pretty much anything, though. I mean, what did I watch yesterday? Last night I watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and I realized that Clark Griswold's mother is also the mother of Lola from the movie Wild at Heart.
Oh shit!
If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the woman who covers her face in red lipstick and is like obsessed with Nicolas Cage's character Sailor. It's the same person, and it's a mother in both scenarios. That threw me for some kind of like nightmarish, paradoxical loop because it was like my childhood, my adulthood clashing in like the ugliest of ways.
Yeah.
A very sweet Christmas grandmother, mother character versus, this like psychotic woman who's trying to have her daughter's boyfriend murdered. Yeah,
funny.
So movies and books, pretty much, how many things are there in the culture anyway? It's like movies, books, TV, like, it's like, influenced by all the same shit everybody else is. Actually, I would say this is the one thing differently I would have to add is that a lot of You Won't Get What You Want was inspired by music and actually writing and visual artists who come from our hometown in Providence, Rhode Island, there forever, or even who are fairly new to the area or younger, making music there. I mean, it was like endless. It's like in our town, there's just no shortage of inspiring creative people.
Awesome.
Even if they're transplants from other places, it's just like you could throw a rock and hit someone that's doing something you've never seen before. It
Awesome.
can be very motivational.
That's cool, man. Can you give me a couple of examples of people that you really love, that you really draw from?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there was a group from Arkansas who lived in Providence for a long time, maybe a decade. They live in New York now, but they were called Human Beast.
Okay, cool.
It was a two-piece, and they sort of started off doing like noisy electronic music, and it sort of became fine-tuned into a version of industrial music.
Oh,
that was
dude, that sounds cool.
And more like it like leaned on this concept of the bourgeois almost. Slowly became, at least the last handful of times I saw them, slowly became like less about music, even more about performance. And music was like sort of on the back burner, though it was there. It was not the focal point any longer. That was Eli and Marilee, who are the members of this group, and I just found them very inspiring when I was there, when they were there. Those dudes. And of course, we have everyone knows about Lingua Ignota now, but she lived in Providence for a long time, and so I just saw her perform in all kinds of spaces with like nobody there, and watched her climb up and gain recognition for the things that she's doing, and that was very motivational. Being in Providence, and we have bands like Alec Redfern and the Eyesores have been there forever, and this dude just pumps out amazing record after amazing record, and this dude deserves way more attention for his work.
Yeah,
Sort of like a witchy, like seedy kind of folk music fronted by an organ, and
wow,
it's just great shit. I mean, honestly, the list goes on and on and on. It really is endless.
That sounds awesome, man. Like, I'm gonna check some of that stuff out definitely after this. That's really cool. I want to squeeze one more in because, like, I know you've got shit to do. But I think what I try and do ever since I started working at this place is I try and get advice. Now I know advice is a weird thing because everyone can give advice and it's different to everybody. But like, if you had a piece of advice for any of these young people that are listening to your band and they want to not necessarily recreate what you're doing, they're not trying to rip you off, but they take inspiration from your sound and they want to do something, they want to tour the world, they want to fucking travel, they want to fucking go through all the highs and the lows, and also make the music, and they want to create. I'm around a lot of that. A lot of young people. We have like a recording studio where people can go in and make music, and I think that's really cool. But what advice would you give to anybody who listens to what you do and they want to kind of, take inspiration from what you do? How do they make a dent as you have been able to do?
I got a couple succinct things I could say. The first thing is one of the most important things, which is don't feel bad or discouraged. Don't stop making music just because what you're making doesn't reflect what you think is working about other people's music.
Okay, cool.
If you're making something that you can't recognize in other folks' music, that doesn't mean you're doing a bad job.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
That was important for me because for a long time I floundered just comparing myself with what I thought was good, and inevitably that'll make you feel bad if you can't do the things that someone else is already doing. And when I've reached a point of having the most satisfying moments making music on my own, it was to simply let it be what it is, to simply make what it is that I could make and accept that as the music. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, which is also very important, which is to say that, like, and this is maybe for folks who are a bit older and already participating in touring
Yeah.
Because even some of the most successful bands that have ever existed, I mean, like, the odds are that anyone could make a living off of it or even gain an audience of any kind are very, very fucking slim. It should be noted that the members of Daughters, and I'll speak mostly for myself, but the members of Daughters have totally lived in squalor several times, like embarrassing living situations, leaning on the people around us, friends and family, couches, floors, whatever. At ages you would not want to be staying on your buddy's couch. It's just like, basically, if you're going to go for it, make sure you really, really love music and you love making music, and you can eat a lot of shit for it. You most certainly will.
That's it, man. That sounds like that's a good bit of advice there. I understand that completely. Honestly, mate, I'm going to tell you this, right? There have been moments recently where I've been thinking about quitting doing it, but like talking to you, like it remotivates me. Like I think, because you guys have worked so hard and you're doing some really cool shit, like, and it, because sometimes it's really painful fucking touring the world, and it, physically and mentally, and sometimes it's painful just, staying on people's couches and floors. You start to, sometimes you have to reassess stuff, but like, honestly, mate, thank you so much, because like, it's good. Hopefully it'll be good for the young people. But the thing I love about doing this is like, it's really good to talk to you, because like you're still staying on people's floors, you're still traveling the world, and you are a successful, in my eyes, you're a very successful band, just because I really enjoy the sound, and I think a lot of people, really enjoy the sound, people from places you've never even heard of. But, I think it's just a really cool motivational chat, mate. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you for being so kind. I really appreciate it.
No worries, man. Enjoy the rest of the tour, brother, and enjoy your Christmas with your family, okay?
Okay, you too. Happy holidays.
You take it easy, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.